Congratulations on this project. Such an incredible project. I was so touched by it. It just blew me away. How difficult is it to get a project like this made? Because it goes into some very uncomfortable topics like childhood trauma and just how difficult is it to get this produced?
Well, to be honest, very difficult to be honest, because
Mhm.
I don't think the movie, the way I made it, was going to just be made, or no one was going to throw money at me to make this. And so we originally had, I had some other, another team and money coming from a different place. And I really love those people, but it just felt like we were making different movies or we didn't see the same way. And so in order to make it, and that's when we originally went out to Barbie. And then I realized that I wanted to make a different movie. And so I had to leave some of those people. And it's fine. I love them, but this happens a lot. But I went and had to start my own LLC, with my producing partners, Sean Mullen and Edgar Rosa, and I had to raise the money and go scout alone. And Sean, Edgar, and I are PGA producers of the movie. Like, we had to figure this out. And it was really, really tough. I also emotionally, it was really tough. And thank God Barbie stuck with us through this change. She could have left us, but she stayed, which is just means the world. She's a wonderful person. And I think, part of it too is like a lot of people I think are afraid to lean into this kind of
Mhm.
stuff. But because my cause and my why was so much bigger than I had a lot of fear, but my
Mhm.
cause and my why was so much bigger than my fear. That was my North Star. And so I was like, okay, lean into the fear. You're afraid to say these things. You're afraid to be this honest. Go all the way with this one, because there's something on the other side of that people need to know and need to hear. So, and that now I kind of want to do that with everything, because there is truth. There's a lot of truth to, like, the more honest you can be and the more specific you are, the more universal it is. As we hear that all the time, but I've learned that that's really true.
Awesome. And let's go a little bit into the why. Why make a movie like this that just has such a deep message behind it?
I think for me it was the importance of kindness, and I've done all these things to get through trauma and heal, and try to get through, shine a light on my own you know path here, and it was the kindness of a stranger on the internet that got me over that little hump, and who healing comes in unexpected ways sometimes, and if we can just be open to it and know that even if we're not perfect, we can have positive impact on other people. You don't have to be completely healed to have positive impact on you just have to try. You have to be present and show up for people, even if it's strangers, you know. And I had been the recipient of kindness from a stranger on the internet, and I had experienced that, and so I thought I owe it to people to say that this matters. I owe it to people to say we have more power than we think.
Definitely. And how emotionally daunting is it not just to write something like this, but then pivot and direct something like this as well, and then watching it, like it must have been so difficult going through all these steps.
Because it was my first feature and because it was so personal and I'd never done that, I'd never been that personal either. Um, I didn't quite know what to expect. So it was like there were like levels of healing and new experiences every step. First it was, okay, I found my chosen family in
Mhm.
real life, so I'm going to tell this story. And then I'm finding now I'm on set and I look out at my incredible cast and crew, and they're my film family, and
Mhm.
I'm supported by them. And I thought I naively thought my healing was done.
Mhm.
But I realize it's a lifelong journey. And having this team support me and tell this story with me was incredibly beautiful and healing. And there'd be moments where I was experiencing real time healing on set, whether it was Barbie doing those incredible monologues at the counselor's office, the last take she looked into the camera. She had looked off camera the first few takes. The last camera, I said, Barbie, just try looking at the camera. And so that whole section is from one take. That's how incredible she is. So, and as she was looking at the camera, and she's got all this space, she doesn't even know, the character doesn't even know how important her story is because she's small in the frame, and she's just looking at the camera and telling her story. And a lot of those things have some truth to them and from my life.
Mhm.
So I just started sobbing, like, quietly, and had tears all over my sides, my little script and everything. And that was a tears on our sides day. But but at the end of that day, I felt like something had been lifted,
Mhm.
and Same thing with a lot of the scenes with both Bobs, Barbie and John and Barbie and French. I just felt a level of healing that I never expected. And then then I got really nervous when I realized this is going to be out there. And oh, wait, I didn't
Mhm.
think that far ahead. And everybody's going to see these embarrassing truths or these fears or anxieties that I have or that I have had. And then as people were coming up to me saying, hey, this helped me, hey, I experienced something similar. I found it to be very empowering that my story was not just my story, but our story, you
Mhm.
know. And everybody that collaborated on this film brought something incredible, and every audience member that has told me part of their story has been a step in the journey.
Definitely. And going with that, since this story is so personal for you, and you're trying to bring out all these emotions in your cast, how do you bring a comfort level to set to make sure that everybody is taken care of while at the same time trying to get these emotions that are very powerful out of them?
I think, I think a lot of it does stem from casting, and you cast the cast, but you also cast the crew. So
Hmm.
I met with a lot of pe crew before, because you want the crew to create a safe environment for the cast as well, and you want the cast to create a safe environment for the crew.
Hmm.
So, and I think you have to build trust with the cast. Mike Nichols, my directing mentor used to quote Mike Nichols and he said, if you want an actor to go somewhere, be willing to go there first.
Hmm.
And I think because it was such a personal, vulnerable story for me, I think everybody was pretty clear that I had skin in the game. Also,
Hmm.
I literally had everything on the line making this movie, so it was not a work for hire.
Hmm.
But so I think, you build trust. You want to have space for these incredible artists and actors, to bring themselves to the table too. That you hired them for a reason.
Hmm.
They're not like puppets. They're bringing their heart and souls to these characters and to this story. So, creating a collaborative space that's safe and making sure that I grew up in an environment where I became hyper vigilant. And it
Hmm.
was kind of not great growing up. But I've learned as a director, it's a little bit of a superpower.
Hmm.
You can say, "Hey, what's going on there? You feel okay? Let's talk about it. Hey, what's going on over here?" And so, just paying attention to everybody and creating an environment where no one feels rushed and no one is mocked or disrespected, and there's no gossip, anything like that. And luckily, a lot of my stories are very heartfelt, so this kind of naturally, I feel like the people that are really drawn to these kinds of stories tend to be those kind of people too. So.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on this. I know for me, there was tears by the end of this movie, so thank you very much for the film and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Jesus. I appreciate it.